Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope that each of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with your friends and family. My name is Chris Lamb, and joining me here at the School of PE headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, is Chris Miller. Chris is our VP of Learning and Development, and together we represent the 200 plus associates instructors that have made School of PE a trusted provider of FE and PE exam prep since 2004. So fun fact, we'll try to make this a little bit entertaining, although mostly informative, but one thing we just would love it if you're comfortable enough, or if you're in a position where you're able to turn on your camera, we'd love to see you. We'll keep our camera on, promise that we'll do that. But yeah, if not, totally no worries. We do have a pretty healthy group here, so but we'd love to see you if that's something you're comfortable with. If not, totally, thanks, Luis. Appreciate seeing you. Yeah, if anyone else, if you're comfortable, turn your camera on. We'd love to see you. If not, totally no worries. So hey, fun fact, we actually have 4 Chris's here that are part of the School of PE family. So you'll hear me refer to Chris Miller as Alpha C. He's been tabbed as maybe having the best nickname in corporate America, but he was the very first Chris to join School of PE well over a decade now. I was just the 3rd Chris to join this high energy company, so I'm simply C3. But just to avoid, hey Chris, what Chris? Chris back and forth, we'll go with Alpha C and C3. But hey, nicknames aside, we wanted to express our gratitude for each of you for joining us this evening. And really, I just wanted to take a second and just congratulate each of you. Some of you have started your journey down the FE or PE path, and some of you are considering it, but it is just, even to be on this Zoom is a real testament to your commitment to your careers and to the engineering field in general. This is an awesome journey, and we're going to be here for you every step of the way. But just a second to congratulate each of you for taking this, having the courage to take this step in your careers. Tonight, we're going to dive into the exam changes that the NCEES announced last month that go into effect April 2024. Here at School of PE, our student concierge team is 24/7, 365. And they've been getting a ton of questions about the exam changes coming next April. So over the Thanksgiving holiday, Alpha C and I thought, hey, what a better way to help the engineering community than to host this webinar. We have over 100 engineers with us tonight. And our goal is really to demystify the changes and help each of you, whether you want to take the exam before the changes go into effect next April or after. So with that, we're going to dive right in with some pre-prepared questions. And we also have a section after this initial one where we did receive a lot of questions coming in before this webinar. And we're gonna address as many as we can. But we also want to make this as interactive as possible. So Chris is going to, or Alpha C is going to describe, there's a Q&A feature, and you can post your questions there. We'll answer every live question. And please feel free to hang with us as long as you can. We're going to try to manage this to really as short a time as possible so we don't impose on your evenings with your families and friends. But we want to make sure we answer, Alpha C and I are going to stay here and answer every question and do our best again to help you down your journey. With that, Alpha, do you want to describe how they interact with the Q&A?
Yeah, sure. So on the bottom of your screen, you should see an icon, a Q&A icon. If you click on it, it should open up a box that'll allow you to type in your question. You can mark it whether you want it answered live or you just simply want somebody to take care of it via chat. So please feel free to do that. But also here towards the end, if you have a question that you rather again speak live, unmute your microphone and you have at it. So again, thanks for joining. We're excited to have you guys here. So.
Awesome. Toby, thanks for turning on your camera. We'll give you a shout out and give you props. I know it's awesome. We just really appreciate it. We love seeing you guys, and thanks for having the courage to do that. And so, okay, so we're gonna dive right in. So Alpha C, can you give us kind of a 2-minute drill summary, to use a football analogy, of the exam changes that are coming beginning April 2024?
Yeah, sure. So, I think it was October 2nd of this year, NCES released the new exam specs that go into effect April 2024. They also released the NCS handbook version 2.0 that'll go along with the exam changes in April. I guess the easiest way to kind of address it is, we all know that we commonly refer to it as a breadth and depth, right? 40 questions for breadth, 40 questions for depth. The depth or the breadth is known as the first 8 subjects that are currently on the current exam specs, things such as geometrics, project planning, means and methods, so on and so forth. So come April, those go away. It becomes a different ballgame, which we'll kind of tackle here as we go through. But if you look at the various depths, from transportation to WRE to geotech, you look at the current exam specs for April 2024, you'll be like, wait a second, the breadth topics are non-existent except for WRE. So water resource and environmental, those people will still have a lot of the common topics. They're still going to have project planning, soil mechanics, materials, so on and so forth. But the transportation, if you look at them, they're mostly all depth topics. There is a project management subject that has some of the elements of the current project planning, and then also some of the means and methods there. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Breadth and depth are gone. It just becomes mostly a depth exam.
Great. Thanks, Alpha. Good summary. And we're going to go in depth and on much more in depth. But I see a question in the Q&A. Kudos to Matt Kravitz for being the first to put something in the Q&A. His question, let's go to it right now. If that's
sure.
Yeah.
No, good question.
Will School of PE be updating their course for the new style of exam? And when would this occur? That's actually a great question, Matthew. We had that in later on in our pre-prepared remarks, but let's get to it right now. And Alpha.
Yeah, so when we got these exam specs in early October, I sat with our instructors and said, hey, this is what the new exam specs look like. We compared them to the existing exam specs, and we started to go to town. So my goal is to, by mid-January, have an on-demand course that is built for April 2024 and beyond. We also have 2 scheduled live online classes beginning, I believe, February 10th and February 12th, and those will be geared towards April 2024 and beyond. But hopefully mid-January will be good to go. But, just to kind of take away some of that mystique, even the current materials, if you were like, hey, I want to start preparing now, the materials are going to be relevant. We just have to tell you to, hey, kind of ignore certain modules, right? Like geometrics no longer will exist, so you won't pay attention to the geometrics module. So for those of you that are looking to start preparing today, we do have an answer for you. We do have an option. Our current on-demand course will allow you to prepare. We just have to help you navigate which modules to kind of avoid. That way you're not kind of, I don't want to say wasting time, but spending valuable time studying modules or content that won't be applicable for an exam come April 2024. A great question, Matt.
So Chris, just to maybe say that a slightly different way, if someone with our current offerings that are live, live is a bad word, with our current offerings that are available today, for someone that knows they want to take the exam post April 2024, we'll help walk them through how to study based on the current materials if they want to take it post April 2024. But you're also saying specifically, our materials will be revamped by early to mid-January to be completely, there's no modification to it. There's no sort of, hand-holding, if you will.
That's correct. So as a matter of fact, I registered a gentleman today for the PE civil construction. He's like, hey, do you have an option that I can start preparing with today? So I said, yeah, let me walk you through our on-demand course. I told him which modules to avoid studying. That way he could focus on that's what's going to be relevant for his exam. So absolutely have that.
Okay. And then I think the question, sort of the opposite of Matthew's question is, okay, if I want to take the exam before the exam changes in April 2024, let's talk through that and how to prepare for that.
Sure. So, I mean, there are some people that are ready to take the exam before April 2024, right? So we actually just started our live online classes here in November. And I was thinking, the exam specs update came out in October. So maybe that wasn't enough time for people to kind of jump on board for the November start date. So we actually are offering a boot camp, a live online boot camp that begins on February the 5th. That's going to teach those to be ready for the exam prior to April 2024. So there is one more option available for those that are looking for live online instruction, and that's our boot camp. Our boot camp's a little different than our traditional classes. As soon as you register, you get immediate access to the on-demand course, which is nothing new. But what we did a little bit differently is it's a condensed schedule, so it's 2 weeks for the breadth versus 4 weeks. It's a shorter depth period as well, but we actually integrated live instructor-led study sessions. So at the conclusion of the breadth, you'll have 1 week of study sessions, and then the same thing will occur at the end of the depth section as well. So, but again, the boot camp is a great option for those that are still wanting live instruction to prepare for the exam prior to April 2024.
Great. And let me just acknowledge, I know this is like a little bit confusing. Yep, go ahead. Oh, great. Okay, question in the chat. So if there's any questions on what we just covered, sort of the pre and post early to mid-January timeframe, when the materials will be fully adapted to the post available for anyone that wants to take the exam post the April change, please put it in the Q&A. We will recap this. Everyone on this that registered for this webinar is also going to be getting a summary email with kind of the key dates that we're going over. So don't worry about scribbling everything down. And I should have said this at the outset. Hopefully everyone that's going to join is joined here. We actually, oh wow, I'm not sure if everyone can see, but we definitely are over 100 now. And so, but I should have said this at the outset. Also, everyone that's attending this webinar will also get a special exclusive offer from School of PE to use for the course of your choice if you should choose to use School of PE for your exam prep. And so wanted to just thank everyone for taking the time tonight. You'll get an exclusive offer. We'll also recap in that email some of the key information on what Alpha just said and the rest of the Q&A here. Great question in the chat. Let's pivot to that, and then we'll go back to the prepared remarks. Merlene, I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation of your name. Great question. She says, I'm currently studying for March 2024. Should I wait and see what happens before requesting my repeat option? I was not successful in July 2023. This is such a great question, Merlene. Our student services team, this is one of the most popular questions that we're getting. Based on just, this is a hard exam. Alpha C, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So let me just kind of maybe get my bearings straight. So you took the exam in July 2023, and you're currently studying and preparing to take it again in March 2024. So are you already re-enrolled in a course, Marlene? Okay, correct. So yeah, I mean, what I would do, and again, people are on the fence. Do I take the exam now, or do I take it after the?
Yeah, let's maybe break that apart.
Yeah,
let's break that apart in pieces, and I think if we can focus on her specific case first, and then we can. It is basically the question I think everyone on this call is asking: should I take it now, or should I take it before April 1st? And I think there was a question exactly what the date is. It is, to our knowledge, April 1.
Correct.
So that's a good question that was in the chat. But let's take Merlene's specific question and then maybe talk about it in two parts generally.
Yeah, absolutely. So Merlene, if you're already well on your way to studying and preparing to take the exam in March 2024, I would sit for that exam and continue prepping. Don't let this kind of unknown kind of throw off your game plan. The nice thing is you've been through the exam once. You had the breadth topics. You're familiar with the breadth topics. That makes up 40 points on the exam. I would continue your course and start preparing and be ready to take that exam in March 2024.
100% agree, Merlene. You sort of like any exam, especially this one. You've gained some experience getting through it, preparing for this format with the breadth and the depth. I would 100% endorse what Alpha C just said and carry forward, get that exam in, and bravo to you for doing that. Great question. Let me pause. Is this where the chat is? I feel like there were other things in the chat. Okay, let me just check the chat real quick. 1 second. Okay, got it. Yep. Okay, thank you. Yep, that was April 1st. Just confirmation that the exam changes April 1st. Okay. All right, let me see. Okay, we're getting a question in the Q&A, and I think that's what we'll do. We have a bunch of prepared questions and questions that came in before the webinar from people that had registered for the webinar, so we have a healthy list of that. But we want to be really respectful. Anyone that's is asking a live Q&A, we're gonna answer those with the first priority if that's okay. This one from an anonymous participant says, I was not successful as well as I took my test November 1st, or the week of November 1st. I want to renew my repeat option January 1st week. What would you recommend? I think our answer is going to be exactly the same in terms of carrying forward with the current format and taking it before the exam changes. Alpha?
Yeah, I mean, you got the momentum, right? And a lot of that information that you either got while you were preparing for your exam or actually when you took your exam is still fresh in your mind. I'd reach out to School of PE and get back in that on demand and then attend the boot camp. Attend those live online classes. That way you have one last chance for live instruction before you retake that exam. Have you scheduled your exam date by chance?
Okay, while we're waiting for that response on whether they've scheduled their date or not, there's a question in the chat. And thank you so much for bearing with us. This is honestly, as much as we've been doing Zoom since COVID, this is new for me with the Q&A. So we're getting some questions in the chat, which is great. We're also getting some questions in the Q&A feature that Zoom has. So we're bouncing back and forth between the two of them. We're going to the chat real quick, which, great question. Again, I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of your name, so I'll apologize. I'll just read the question. I think this question is on everyone's mind. Will it be harder? It is not clear for me the change, what's involved with the change. Yeah, let's take Armand's question second.
Sure.
So will it be harder, Alpha C? And I think, like a lot of things, it depends. Yeah. But please go ahead.
It's a good question. It's a difficult question. I'll give my 2 cents. And right now you kind of know what to expect, right? With the current exam format, there's a breadth. There's general engineering knowledge required for those breadth topics, but also kind of take this into consideration. Like, maybe if you're not an experienced engineer, maybe you're new to the workforce or new to what you're doing, then the breadth is a plus for you, right? Because again, 40 points, half the exam. If you've been doing your job function for a longer period of time, then maybe having more depth question is going to be beneficial to you. So I don't have a direct answer, but you've already, you're familiar with the breadth topics. If you're comfortable with the breadth topics, so for example, hydraulics and hydrology is currently a breadth topic, right? For some that maybe are not doing water resources, that might be a difficult subject. So maybe you're like, all right, I'm going to skip out on this exam format because I want to focus more on the exam formats more aligned with what I do on an everyday basis. Hopefully that helps answer that question and maybe gives you a little guidance on, which is going to be harder, which is going to be easier.
Great answer, Chris. And, I'll be honest with you, maybe one thing that folks are thinking is, okay, that's a great answer, but it's sort of like, it depends, and that's hard. So I think please continue to put your specific situations. I love how we've gotten some really specific questions, like Merlene, I'll go back to you and shout you out, props to you. We've gotten very specific questions on your certain situation. We're happy to take those, because I think if you have that question, chances are somebody else has that question as well. Let's go to Armand's question, which is, we know a lot is removed from the exam post-April, namely the breadth part. Any new topic? Is any new topic added to the depth section?
Yeah, no, that's a good question too. So yeah, some of the depths have different topics, but they're kind of confused. I mean, I guess they're not new topics in the sense that, for example, let's take a look at the new WRE exam specs, right? There's a project site work topic or subject that wasn't there before. But if you look at it, it's basically site development, which was a breadth topic. Project management is a new topic for transportation depth. But if you look at it, it's basically, project planning and scheduling. So that what might appear to be new, take a look at the sub-bullets underneath that newly seen subject, and then you can analyze it by comparing it to the current exam specs that are available. If anyone has a more specific question or wants to know more about their respective depth, send me an email, info@schoolofpe.com, or Nikki can post my email address in the chat window. And if I don't have the answer, I will connect you with an instructor that's been in the same seat as you, that would maybe able to better answer the question for you.
Okay.
Oh, structural. Okay.
Structural. Yeah.
So structural.
This is a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll just set Alpha up. We one thing that School of PE does, I'm just really proud of. When the exam spec came out in October, we sat with all of our subject matter expert instructors and went through the exam spec changes. We have a sort of a war room set up here at our headquarters with, every depth is highlighted in terms of what the new formats and changes are going to be. So we know them to a T. So while Alpha's offering, if he doesn't know the answer, I can almost promise you there's 99% of the questions Alpha's going to be able to answer. So again, info at School of PE. That's a great way to deal with it. Specific to Armand, your question on structural.
I'm going to tackle that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, there was structural mechanics, which is a breadth topic, right? So you're going to still need to know some of that foundation to address some of the depth topics that you're going to come across on the structural exam. I believe snow and wind is new for structures. But what I'll do, Armand, is if you can send an email to info@schoolofp.com, I'll connect you with Tenzin Getso and Amir Mousa. They're two of our structural instructors, and they might be able to provide a little more insight than what I was able to give. But we will get you taken care of, Armand.
Terrific. I love seeing the Q&A get filled here. We good with this one?
Let's see.
I'll read it if you're good.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Okay, great question here. I'll read it slowly. Hopefully everyone can digest it in real time. It says, I'm currently in the process of getting my experience approved for my PE in New York, and my focus will be transportation. You mentioned earlier that one of the topics that is more of depth topic per se. Oh, transportation is more of a depth topic per se. May I ask if you could elaborate on the transportation PE exam and what sort of changes would be involved?
Sure, no, good question, Robert. So the only new topic that I saw for transportation was the project management, but again, that takes a lot from the project planning, which is currently a breadth topic. So what they've done is, let's say geotechnical and pavement, which is a depth topic currently and in the future. So let's say on the current exam specs, there was 3 to 4 questions that could pop up on geotechnical and pavement. Moving forward, come April, it might be 5 to 7. So basically what they're doing is, if they have not added a new topic, they've increased the number of potential questions that might come out of each area. That's how they're still getting the 80 questions. Does that help, Robert? Hopefully that helps. But again, if not, please send an email to info@schoolofpe.com and we'll get you squared away.
Yeah, Robert, and feel free, Robert, to follow up in the Q&A or the chat. Okay, let's see. Wow, we are getting a lot of questions here. Okay.
Let's tackle Anthony's.
Okay, let's go to Anthony Schaefer. Great question here. For the WRE discipline, Water Resources and Environmental, which topics will be removed? I'm scheduled to take the exam January 4th, but want to know what to expect if I have to take the exam again in April. Oh, this is a great question.
That's a good question.
That's a really good one. Okay.
So project planning, soil mechanics, and materials are still 3 breadth topics that'll carry over to the new exam format for WRE. There is a project site work that I mentioned earlier that is now a depth topic for WRE, but basically it is site development, which is a current breadth topic. So you will remain with basically 3.5 breadth topics if you consider project site work still a breadth topic per se. But other than that, it is all depth. Hydraulics and hydrology is gone. It is now, you got hydraulics to closed conduits, open conduits. But as far as the breadth topics, Anthony, you will still see 3 of those on the exam: project planning, soil mechanics, and materials. But geometrics is gone. Hydraulics and hydrology are gone. Hopefully that helps answer that, Anthony.
Anthony, feel free to follow up back in the chat. And by the way, if anyone, again, you can ask your questions certainly in the Q&A or the chat. If you want to come on live and ask your question live, we'll do that. We're doing our best to. We are just seeing so many great questions. We're doing our best to get through them here. Yep. Okay. Let's tackle Robert Dabney's first.
Sure,
Let's follow up. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, Robert. So in short, less transportation questions and more questions in other topics like the FE kind of.
Yeah, correct. So, absolutely right? They're basically eliminating 8 subjects more or less, right? They added one, project management. So basically transportation is going to see probably 7 less topics. They're just increasing the number of potential questions for each subject.
Great. Okay. Kayla asks us, I just started studying and I'm planning to take the PE for the first time in February. Would you recommend I wait until April? So I think the answer is no.
That's a good question. If you've already started studying, I'm assuming you've probably tackled some of the breadth topics, right? If you feel comfortable with those breadth topics, you know that's 40 points, half your exam. So I'd stay the course and take the exam as planned and, see how you do. I think you're going to do fine since you're already preparing, and those topics are common to you now. So.
Yep, great. I think you're hearing the kind of the common theme for us. If you've started the journey based on the current exam format, our recommendation is you put in the time, especially if you've taken it once already, you're already familiar with the exam. That's going to be more valuable because honestly, like a lot of it is, post-April, there is some unknown. I think we've digested as much as we possibly can, and we have a really good roadmap for how we're going to help our engineers prepare. But if you started, stay the course. I think the question we're going to come back to really is, are you on the fence about if I haven't started, should I start now or should I wait till April? So let's come back to that. But we're seeing that quite a bit in the chat actually. Let's try to finish in the Q&A. We've got 2 good ones. Evram asks, will there be any change to the success criterion or score for the new exam? Awesome question.
That's a good question. And as of right now, there is not going to be a change in the scoring for the new exam. But again, if you want to send an email, and I'll double check with a couple of instructors. But we actually had an instructor here 2 weeks ago in our Dublin office, and we talked about this, the same exact thing, right? Is the scoring going to change? And the answer was not that we know of. Right now, it's going to stay the course.
Great. Let's take that next question. It's very similar from Jackson. Will the test still be broken into 2 40-question sections?
Good question, Jackson. So there will no longer be the separation of the breadth and depth. You're going to have an 80-question exam. It's going to be a 9-hour appointment time, 8 hours to take the exam, but you will have one 80-question exam. Okay,
great. And again, please feel free. If we didn't answer your question in the Q&A to the depth that you like, or if you still have extra questions, please feel free to just ask a follow-up question. By the way, y'all are doing great. This is really feels really interactive, and thanks so much. This one or
let's tackle that one and move to the
okay. One on the right. All right. Great question from EF. Will you renew the book materials? And I think by this question you mean our current review guides. Are we planning to renew or update those for the exam spec changes post-April?
Yeah, no, good question. So right now our focus is on getting the course updated and ready for the alignment and exam spec changes. We're working on our question bank as well. That's already been in process. Instructors going through, picking questions to make sure that they're still relevant come April 2024. And then we'll have another instructor or SME go through the questions and put the applicable codes and standards and reference in the handbook where you can find that in the solutions. The exam review guides, it's on the radar. It's just a much heavier lift than it is to update the course and the question bank in our exam booklets. Our practice exam booklets will be updated and ready by April of 2024. I'm thinking when it comes to exam review guides, we're probably looking at 2025. But remember, the topics, again, are the same. So if you happen to have an exam review guide and you're taking the exam in, let's say, June or July, you just have to kind of filter through and avoid those subjects that are not applicable to your exam.
Okay. Great question. Great question. We're going to switch up just slightly a little bit. We've got a ton of questions in the chat, and those have been waiting for a little while. Let me go to Amar, and then we'll come back to the Q&A, if that's okay. But Amar asks, will the live or on-demand course start first for the new PE exam in January 2024?
Good question. So the on-demand will be ready come mid-January 2024. And then our first live online class that will be geared for April 2024 and beyond will be February 10th and February 12th. One is weekday and one is weekend. So February for the live and mid-Jan for the on-demand. But again, if anyone is wanting to prepare now with the current on-demand course, happy to send an email to info@schoolofpe.com and I can tell you which modules to avoid and how to best maximize your time with the current materials.
And then also the boot camp option for people that want to take the exam before April 20th.
Yeah. So the boot camp is February the 5th. And again, that's geared for those that are looking to take the exam before April 1 of 2020.
So let's pause for a minute here. If I want to take the exam before the spec change, I really have, let's go through those options. So again, just pausing because I'm seeing a lot of it in the chat. There's a lot of themes here. I want to take the exam before April 2024. I'm not currently registered for a School of PE course. I haven't started my prep, but I know I want to take it before the exam spec changes. What are my options, Alpha?
You have the option of the on-demand course, and then you have the option to attend the live online boot camp that starts on February the 5th. Those are the two options that'll gear you towards for taking the exam prior to April 20th.
Okay, so the boot camp will be fully geared instruction towards passing the exam before the spec changes, but that doesn't start till February 5th. If I want to start before then, my option is really the on-demand with some advice from School of PE. We'll probably publish a guide that tells you sort of, hey, these focus here, focus less here. This section won't be included at all.
Correct. So one of the things that will make someone successful with the boot camp is as soon as you register, you have access to the on-demand. You want to start hammering away at the on-demand. That way the topics aren't new to you when you are ready to attend the live online class starting February 5th, but also it might help you generate some questions prior to the start of the live online classes. So the boot camp gives you immediate access to the on-demand course in preparedness for the February 5th class start date.
So what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing you right, if I haven't started my prep yet, it sounds to me like the best option is register for the boot camp that starts February 5th, which will immediately give me access to the on-demand material, which there will be a guide from School of PE that helps me know where to focus in preparation for the start of that boot camp.
That is correct.
Okay, and then I think our marketing team is actually running a promotion on that boot camp that was for Black Friday that I think we've extended through Cyber Monday.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Just by taking a scan through the questions, that is a really common question we're getting. Let me go to Alyssa Downs. Awesome question. Okay. Any advice on choosing between depths? We get this a lot. Since the new exam will be more focused on one or the other, I am between transportation and construction. My work currently consists of both topics. Okay, we've tackled this a lot.
Yeah, what makes you interesting, Alyssa, is that you...
Well, a lot of things probably make Alyssa interesting.
One of the things with your questions that is interesting is that your work consists of both. Usually one is more heavy than the other. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Alyssa, is send me an email. And I'm actually going to connect you with Mohammed Algamo, who's one of our construction instructors, and he might be able to better tackle this question for you. So if you could just do me a favor and send an email to info@schoolofpe.com. That way I can connect you with Mohammed.
Okay, thanks, Alyssa. We want to get you the best answer there. This is a really common question, and instead of giving you like, hey, it kind of depends, we'd love to know maybe more about your, the depths of your work experience to be able to really give you that advice. But honestly, your preference too, and if it's like, hey, I'm 50-50 down the line, Mohammed's going to be able to help tip the scales for you. Okay, along the same lines, what about the construction depth change?
Yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, breath topics are gone, right? I believe there is a little bit of a water resource, correct, in the construction. But Kiddis, again, hopefully I didn't butcher your name, send me an email to info@schoolofpe.com and I'll get you a little bit more detailed information.
Yep, good advice. Okay. Abdo, from my friend from Allentown, I believe. Okay. Near where I grew up, by the way, for those that joined on time or a little bit late. Today I purchased the 12-month structural on-demand course. Great choice. Is the new version of the course will be included in my purchase?
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as that on-demand course is ready, it'll be added to your Study Hub portal. You'll see a new icon on your dashboard, but you'll also be informed that, hey, you now have access to the April 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this just from a product development standpoint. Alpha is absolutely right. It'll be seamless for you, so you can sort of start. Again, I think what's going to be really helpful is this guide for like our current on-demand topics. If you're taking the exam post April 2024 exam spec change, here's kind of your roadmap based on the currently available materials. Great question. Okay. From Anthony. Oh, Anthony, yep, we got you. Thanks so much. From iPhone, I love this. Okay, from iPhone, is there a change on construction depth also? Similar.
Yeah, similar. So if you want to send an email to info@schoolofp.com, I can send you some more detailed information. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate all your comments and engagement.
Robert, no worries. We're really appreciate the questions. Okay. Let's see. Let's finish up here. Okay. Natalie, I believe it's pronounced. Great question here. I'm just starting to study for the structural exam and am planning on taking the new format for the exam. If I take the exam first thing in April, how confident can I be that the question bank practice exams offered by School of PE will mirror the actual test? Okay, this is perfect, right up our alley. Would it be better to take the test later in the year when the prep material has had time to calibrate?
That's a good question. So what I would do, Natalie, and I'd love to chat with you, is let's get you geared towards avoiding the modules that you don't need to know, or not know, but not need to pay as much attention to because they're no longer going to exist come April 2024. I mean, questions are going to be the same. Updated codes and references are going to be there, which we're working on. But yeah, Natalie, if you would just reach out to me, I'd love to chat with you a little bit and help you kind of move away from the modules that you're seeing now that you won't need for the new exam format.
I think her question, and tell me if we should move on, but I think the question is really like how, like in the question bank and the practice exams, it's more of a, like her question I think is what's the exam going to be like? Is it just more, we know it's going to be more depth questions. Mm-hmm. And is our question bank and practice exam, which the answer in my mind is yes.
Yeah.
Is it ready to help folks study for the larger quantity of depth questions?
Absolutely. So right now, by I think in mid-February, absolutely. By mid-Feb, we plan on having all the new codes and standards referencing the solutions for the question bank. So you could be, 98% confident that you're going to be in great shape if you take the exam first thing in April.
Okay, Natalie, please feel free to follow. This is a great question. Please feel free to follow up with us over email. And we'll continue that conversation. Okay, moving a little quickly. I love this. Same question as Natalie, but I'm planning on taking the new format for transportation. I think we've addressed that one.
Yep.
Okay, great question, Karen. Oh gosh, not even able to keep up here. Does all the information about the new change? Okay.
Yeah. So actually, Jeter, again, hopefully you don't butcher your name. Posted the link that you can go and see your new exam specs. Jeter, I think I've seen you before, so nice to see you again. But
Hi,
yes.
Chris. Yes, this is Jeter. I think we had a podcast back like
Yes.
2 years ago.
Yes,
Oh,
we
that's
have. Great to see you.
You probably made Alpha C look good in that podcast, so thank you.
Well, good to see you, Jeter, and thanks for posting that helpful information.
I probably show my face. I just yes, I just
No
gained
worries.
some weight, but
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
likewise.
Happy holidays to you.
Thanks so much.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, Evrim.
Okay, good night, Evrim. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
We got a lot queued up here in the Q&A. Again, really hope this format works for you. We're doing our best. Again, we had a lot of pre-prepared stuff, but the questions are really awesome. And we're just going question by question. Please feel free to leave us some feedback, put it in the chat. If you want to see us take a different direction or you're appreciating the format so far, I think this is great. Again, if somebody has the question, chances are everyone has that same question. Okay, Nikki, really appreciate you queuing up the right questions in the Q&A. We've got a few here to catch up to. Just a general question, if I plan on taking the New Jersey PE exam before I obtain my 4 years of experience, I presume you would recommend taking the exam in the revised format as the state board may not accept an exam score taken in the previous format.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I've never heard of a state board not accepting a score based on a prior format. I mean, if you think about it, the PE Civil just became CBT here, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So I wouldn't say that would be like the guiding factor. Why to not sit for the exam now? Because that I haven't seen or heard that they would not accept a previous format of an exam score to qualify you for passing or for your PE. But what I can do, so actually Mohammed Algamal is actually a Jersey PE. So if you send an email to info@schoolofpe.com, I'll reach out to him and see what his insight is on that question. It's a good question. But please send an email. That way I can make sure we get back to you on that.
Yeah, and what's really good about that, and you can all see Nikki Jones. She's kind of the heart and soul of School of PE. What we'll do is take a lot of these questions. We'll do a Q&A when we have sort of the real formal answer. I feel like that would be super helpful. That's a really good one. Okay. Will 80 questions be in one sitting? Okay, yeah, I think we answered that, but this goes on. Are we gonna get an opportunity to go back
Flag and
to, for
review.
example, flag and review questions that you've already taken or gone through if you're further on in the exam? So the example is, can we go back to question 36 flagged, even if we are on question 51?
Yeah, I've done some digging and I haven't found anything contrary to that, Jeter. I've reached out to NCS and haven't got like a clear answer to kind of prove one way or the other, but I'll continue digging. And when we send the recap email out, in a couple of days or whatever, I'll make sure that I've at least done a little more digging to try to find out a more accurate answer for both your question and then also I think Merlene had the same question. So I believe we can export these questions and so we can kind of rehash them and send out an email to everybody with some of these answers. So I'll make sure we get an answer for that because right now I believe you can, and I haven't seen any information that kind of contradict that.
Yeah, and Merlene's asking a very similar question. Will, come April, after this changes, will the format be the same where once you reach 40 questions, it will be submitted and you'll not be able to go back? So morning versus afternoon.
Yep.
Okay. I have an option to renew the course. Will I get updated course material if I wait until February?
So are you saying you have an option to renew the course now?
Either for you.
Yeah, or an extension. So
Okay.
yeah, so either way, if you renew now and
Okay.
Depends on what your access duration is, you will get the new materials uploaded to your study hub if you're looking to take the exam in April of 2024 and beyond.
I think it's similar to Abdo's question where you register for the 12-month and then.
Yeah, that I don't have enough information on. If you can maybe type a little bit more follow up to that question, maybe I can give you a better answer there.
Okay, great. Okay, John, I took the PE in October and the depth was all building related. I understand for the structural SE test, it's half building, half bridge questions. With the PE changing to all depth questions, will there be a 50-50 split like the SE? As a bridge designer for 2 years, I felt disadvantaged taking the PE, right? Yeah.
That's a good question. So just to kind of tackle a couple of pieces. So yeah, the SE exam also changed, right? November of this year. I think it moved to CBT for one, computer-based, but also it increased. I think it went from a 16-hour exam to a 21 or a 23-hour exam. But regarding the PE civil structural exam, all they're really doing is increasing the number of questions for each of the existing depth topics, right? I think they included snow and wind, I believe, but they're not per se adding new topics. They're just increasing the number of potential questions underneath the existing topics. Again, that's how they're getting to the 80 questions. Hopefully that helped with that question there.
Okay, Marlene. During my exam in July 2023, the HSM manual was not working properly. Oh, sorry to hear that. That was the only manual I was not able to do PDF search. I don't know who to talk about this with, and very afraid of that happening again. Any advice on whom to talk to?
Yeah, I mean, I'd start with two organizations. One, I'd reach out to NCES, but also Prometric, right? The testing center or Pearson View. I think it's Prometric now, but I'd reach out to the testing center just to see maybe there was a glitch, but also reach out to NCES and let them know that that happened. And so that way, maybe they can reach out to the testing center to ensure that doesn't happen again.
Okay, we're through the Q&A, and again, please feel free, keep populating the Q&A. I'm looking at the chat, just kind of bouncing back and forth here. I think we did this one. No, we did not.
Nope.
Okay, Amar, really relevant question. Will you provide the new study materials for April 2024 exam if I register for the on-demand course starting in January 2024? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
As soon as those new on-demand materials will be available, that icon will populate on your dashboard.
Terrific. Okay, hopefully that's a pretty black and white answer. Alina, great question. Does live online class include PE civil exam review guide structural volume 1 and 2, the paperback plus the ebook, plus the PE civil structural practice exam and solutions?
I believe so, Alina. And then if you could do me a favor, send an email to info@schoolofp.com and I'll double check with student service. But I believe those items are included with the live online.
Thanks, Alina. Abdu again. Do you think if I study with the current course, is it enough to set for the April exam? I'm just thinking ahead if I don't pass before April.
Yeah, good question, Abil. And again, per se, the topics haven't changed, right? In theory, they got rid of the breadth, they increased the potential number of questions for the depth. And if there is a new subject, like I mentioned, project site work for WRE, it's essentially site development, which was a breadth topic. So absolutely, if you're studying now, absolutely you'll be good enough for the April exam. Happy to sit with you on the phone and say, hey, let's avoid these modules. That way you're not wasting some of your valuable time. But the material is going to be the same. So you're going to be in good shape.
Really good question. If I buy the on-demand class for a year, does the year start when I actually start watching the videos or the day I purchase the class? Okay, good clarification here.
Yeah, so when you register for the course on the website, you activate your course at the time of registration, Karen. So as soon as you register for the course, you're basically accepting the student policy, which will then activate your course. If you need an extension of some sort, please feel free to reach out to info@schoolofp.com. We can help you out. But yeah, essentially your course begins the day that you register.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Back to the Q&A. I thought I heard you guys mention earlier this evening that there will be an updated reference handbook. Yeah. Is each discipline going to have its own reference handbook, or will it continue to be one reference handbook for the PE civil exam?
Yeah, good question. Actually, I was rather surprised when I saw version 2.0. I thought there'd be a little more detail, but no, it's one manual for all 5 depths. A couple of things that we're adding new is we're going to have a mathematics, a probability and statistics module to help prepare for those type of questions or formulas. So that'll be coming here in mid-January. And I also believe we're having a statics and dynamics refresher as well added as precursor modules to the PE Civil. But one manual or one reference handbook for all 5 depths.
Awesome. Thanks, Alpha. Okay, we want to be really respectful of everyone's time. Again, just from Alpha, myself, the 2 Chris's here, we just really appreciate everyone taking time out of their Monday evening. You guys could be doing a lot of different things with this time, and we're just appreciative of the time you took to come and get some questions answered. Really rich, valuable questions in both the Q&A and the chat. Hopefully we've done a good job answering them. I really think that Alpha C, I've just been so impressed as head of learning and development for School of PE's really studied the exam spec change. So I think that really came out hopefully to everyone in the Q&A. I think just one pre-prepared, maybe a few pre-prepared questions that we had from students that we wanted to try to get to. And again, please feel free. We're going to try to answer these questions. If anyone has to tend to other things, really just appreciate you spending the time with us. The Q&A is actually clear and the chat is clear. So we're going to go to a couple of these key questions that we thought were really, really good. So this is a really common one, right? What makes taking a review course from School of PE the best option for preparing for the PE civil exam?
That's a good question. So, we can look at it both ways. We can look at it from the way of people that are taking the exam April 2024 and beyond, or those that are preparing now. I look at it this way. The new exam format, it's a double unknown, right? You don't really know what to expect. So a review course that's designed to help you prepare and pass the exam would be a great option. That way you can pass it first time around. If you look at the current exam format, again, if you're like, hey, I really want to get this done because the breadth topics are a strength of mine, and that can make up 40 points of my exam, then ensuring, preparing with a review course ensures your success and gives you a much higher probability of passing the exam on your own.
Awesome, Chris. And maybe we'll go a little bit rapid fire here just to be respectful of people's time and everyone that's hung in there for the entire time here. So what's unique about the School of PE instructors and the materials that make such a difference for engineers who prep with School of PE? I love this question because at the end of the day, so much of your experience with School of PE is going to be the team of instructors, all SMEs in their own areas that we assemble, that Alpha C deploys to make up that course. So please feel free.
Yeah, so one of the things that makes us unique is that, we use multiple instructors, right? We don't just have one instructor that teaches the entire PE civil course. Let's say you're a transportation engineer, you might understand geometrics, you might understand project planning, but teaching someone else that to get them to prepare to pass an exam is different. So we give you an instructor that teaches to their specialty. But also our instructors, they have a passion for helping people pass the PE. They were in the same seats that you're in here this evening. And then also, we're always looking to revamp or add enhancements to our courses based on whether it's different tools or features that'll help, kind of enhance your study experience or learning experience with School of PE, or just the passion that the instructors have for helping people, prepare for both their FE and their PE is something that I think that makes us unique. But also, we meet every session. After every session, I meet with the instructors. We go over the student feedback, the student evaluations. We see how we can make improvements to the course or make enhancements based on that feedback. And it's not something we just create a course and it's static. We are constantly updating our materials based on feedback, whether it's what you've seen on the exam that like, oh man, this wasn't even covered in your course. Oh, we looked at it. So I think constant improvements are always being made. I think that's what makes it.
It's been part of the School of PE DNA since 2004, and I just love the focus that we have from a course perspective, material perspective, on just the continuous improvement. It's really great. It's a hallmark. Okay, let's see. Oh, we got Marlene. Okay. Awesome. These instructors are personal and make you feel as if you're the only students. I took the FE review course 2 years ago after being out of school for 25 years. Wow, that's awesome. I could not have done it without these instructors. Thank you so much, Marlene, for that feedback. That is just makes us really, really proud.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Marlene. One thing that a lot of people don't know about our instructors is, they're not full-time instructors, right? A lot of them are working engineers. A lot of them are college professors, or maybe they're both. So for a lot of our instructors, this is a third gig for them. They're doing it because they truly have a passion for helping those prepare for both the FE and PE.
Yeah, I would concur with that. And it's, these guys could be doing a lot of things with their time, but everyone that we meet with, and we meet with them regularly, is passionate about helping people get through this experience and this process easier than they did. And that's what I love about the team of instructors that we have. Okay, let me see. Keep me honest in the chat. Okay, good. We're still clear in the chat and the Q&A. We're going to do one more, if that's okay. And Alpha, this came up during our Q&A, but I think it's worth covering one more time, if that's okay. But just, again, maybe recap, how is our course format going to change? And how will the question bank change since the references and topics are changing? Let's hit that one more time, maybe just as an exclamation point to make sure we cover it for everyone. Feel free.
Sure. So let's look at the different elements of the course, right? So the course materials, the notes, obviously, right, are one. So, our course currently is 96 hours, teaches the breadth and the depth. So now we're going to spend, that same amount of time focusing on the topics that are on the new exam specs. So with the removal of breadth doesn't mean we're going to reduce the number of hours, right, of our course. Some of the courses are actually increasing because we need to allocate more time to give a little bit more instruction on some of these depth topics. When it comes to the question bank, we're going to have every instructor or SME go through the questions that are existing in our question bank today. Say, hey, these questions are not only applicable, but they're good exam questions, right? Or good practice exam type questions. So then once they kind of flag those questions, we're going to kind of move those to the next stage where an SME is going to go through, make sure that the solution has step-by-step instructions on how to get to the solution, make sure that if there's a code or standard that can be referenced, it is. And if there's a section in the reference handbook that a student can go to learn more about that particular topic, that's also listed. So, we have a 3-step process that's in place to kind of revamp our question bank to get it ready for the April 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, and I'll just say it, really a credit to Alpha and his team for taking this on. This exam spec change, I can tell you, is like our primary focus at School of PE, and making sure we're fully ready to help all of our engineers that come to us with their journey down this path. top priority for all of us. Okay, Robert, last one here. Was it mid-January? Oh yeah, so recapping this again.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So correct, mid-January, I'm hoping to have the on-demand course ready to go. And then February 5th is the start of the boot camp for those that are still wanting to prepare for the exam prior to April.
Sort of two different flavors, right?
Correct.
Mid-January is for people that want to take the exam.
Correct.
Post-spec change in
Yep.
April 1st. The boot camp, we talked about this already, but really, if you want to take the exam, I think just to put this simple enough, if you want to take the exam before the exam spec changes on April 1st, register for the February 5th boot camp. Again, which marketing has a promotion for that right now. Register for that, you'll immediately get access to the on-demand and use that leading up to the boot camp. We will have a published guide within the next few days in terms of like how to navigate the current material. So, okay, go.
That's a good question, really. So the boot camp begins February the 5th and runs till March the 14th.
Still gives you 2 weeks.
Correct. So it's 2 weeks for the breadth, and then followed by 1 week of live online instructor-led study sessions, which then leads you into 2 weeks of the depth. And then at the conclusion of the depth, gives you 1 more week of instructor-led study sessions. And then you still have about 17 days to take the exam. One very important thing, though, is make sure you schedule your exam, right? That way the logistics are done, you're ready to hammer that boot camp. But yeah, February 5th through March 14th is the boot camp.
Okay, we're coming to the end of our time. I think Kiddis, that's one more question. Oh, yep, Nikki, thanks for answering that. No more 40 depth. Yes, yep, you got that. No more 40 depth and 40 breadth questions. Yep, we covered that a little, right? That was a great question right out of the gate. Let me try to give everybody, say we ended early. We could say, if we end 30 seconds early, we could say we ended early and gave you back some time. Thank you so much. Honestly, Alpha and I, and really the entire 200 plus people that make up School of PE, we're at this every day. We love seeing all the questions and trying to help through some of the uncertainty that exists out there right now. Thank you so much. Please, we threw out info at School of PE a lot today for follow-up questions. Please take us up on that. We will go through everyone. We will answer everyone. If you have any feedback on this format, this webinar, please feel free to also send that to info at School of PE. Again, my name is Chris Lamb. This is Chris Miller, C3, Alpha C. Just want to say thanks again to this community and School of PE Nation. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you very much and happy holidays. Good to see you, Jeter.
Hey, Chris. Uncle Chris, I got that for you. Thank you for this.
You got the tumbler. Love it, man. Well, hey, happy holidays to everybody, and thanks for coming out here on a Monday night. Take care, folks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.